Hey, everybody. This is a special episode, the Police Applicant Podcast on YouTube. Got a special story right now, and I want to bring in an expert on it, the great IA guy, Marlon Marrache, 24 years LAPD Sergeant, Internal Affairs. And Marlon, welcome, man.
Thanks, brother.
Uh, I
What's
want
going
to
on?
I got Marlon last minute. I said, bro, I got to get you on here because I want to do a special YouTube real quick thing. And I want to touch on a story, Marlon. I do not have anywhere near the expertise on this, but I got to get through the lens of internal affairs. And I'm going to bring up the story here. LAPD probing allegation that officer cheated on exam with camera-equipped glasses. An LAPD officer is under investigation for allegedly recording the questions to an exam on a pair of camera-equipped smart glasses, Mission Impossible style. So, um,
MI5, baby.
so this story came out a few weeks ago, and then somehow or another it grew legs again last week and came back out again because it's like more information's coming out or something like that. And I said, well, I thought this was put to bed as a rumor, and nothing came of it. And then it came back on the news. So I said I could get
Right.
with Marlon about this. So as a regular guy, I'm looking at it. I'm going, could happen, could happen. The news is picking up on it. The Protective League is chiming in on it. And so, what's the experts' take on this, Marlon? As far as how does IA look at this stuff, and what's the protocol for this?
Yeah. So, same thing that you heard is the same thing I was hearing also is that first it started as a rumor. And I want to say one of the reasons why I circled back is because they did more of an inquiry and they started realizing that, yes, this particular rumor is kind of growing some legs here. So,
Mm, mm.
let's go ahead and cut a face sheet and start investigating. So, what I will say from the get-go, this is a fraud misrepresentation type of investigation, right? So if you look at the big picture, you have one particular individual who decided to, uh, I suppose, go into this exam with these Mission Impossible type style of glasses and basically cut corners and just I suppose they didn't want to study and they felt as though, or let me take it back, that particular person probably, and again, this is all just a theory, where they probably studied, right? And with those Mission Impossible style glasses, recorded this particular exam and then shared that information with colleagues. And so when you start talking about preponderance of the evidence, right? You and I both know more likely than not, 51%. These type of cases are going to require way more than just the department going on a hunch that these particular glasses recorded, um, the actual exam, and you happen to share accused employee with other colleagues. Those are all just speculations. So a lot depends on what the actual accused employee, in this case being a candidate for the police sergeant exam. But at the same time, is what type of evidence does the department have to substantiate a likely of a fraud misrepresentation, which turns out to be a false, allegation, if that kind of makes sense. And
Yeah,
so, go ahead.
I was going to say, go ahead. No, finish up your, because I got a question.
Right. So, given the circumstances, my thinking is the department is going to have to prove a couple of things. One, that especially when it comes to a false statement, right? So if the department, for whatever reason, alleges and has um, uh, a line of questioning where they strongly believe that your intentions, because now we start talking about intent, right? Of a material fact. So if your intentions were to go in there to record this particular exam with this um, object being the Mission Impossible type glasses, then it's looking pretty good heading in that direction in terms of preponderance, right? The standard of proof.
Hmm.
But I suppose it all depends on what the accused employee is going to say, right? They might turn around and say, I don't know what you're talking about. These are prescribed glasses. And even if the department, uh, let's just say they ask for those glasses to be examined, I don't even know if A, they actually still have those glasses, and two, will they actually are compelled to give those up in terms of this investigation. So let's just start there, and then we'll kind of work our way into this conversation.
So, would you say this is an administrative investigation? Could it be criminal?
There is misrepresentation and fraud does have um, a bit of an avenue for a criminal um, theory, right? For a criminal allegation. I just don't know, not the issue that I have with saying that this could be a criminal allegation in nature is because you and I both know the standard of proof is beyond reasonable doubt. So now the standard of proof is way, way high. And so I just don't see how. And last time I checked, now you're taking me back to my law school days. I want to say fraud is a specific intent type of crime. So you would have to prove this will be the district attorney's office that you specifically intended to go in there and cheat. And that's that's a far stretch of evidence to prove so.
So, okay, so then it's an administrative investigation. Does it goes
Mhm.
immediately to IA and they cut a face sheet? And now, how do they investigate that type of thing?
Yeah, this is a internal affairs. This is serious misconduct, fraud, misrep. Call it what you want. It ends up being a false statement, or I should say, a false. Um, well, it could be a false statement depending on what you say in your compelled interview, but it's a misrepresentation, false, fraudulent type of an allegation on or about such and such date, officer so and so misrepresented uh, himself or herself by using uh, an object to with the intentions of cheating on a promotional exam, something along those lines. I don't know if they're going to use the word cheating, but uh, it's got a fraudulent taste to it. So depending how you frame the allegations, it's going to have this fraud misrepresentation. Now, how do you prepare for such an investigation? Man, you got to get two very experienced IA investigators who are going to ask a set of questions that are going to be pretty solid. You can't leave no stone unturned. You have to be able to open up the door. And when you open up the door of the line of questioning, you need to ask very, very specific questions. For example, and this is just impromptu right off the bat, would be uh, let's go first with the glasses. Do you even have these Mission Impossible type of glasses? What are these glasses used for? Are they prescribed glasses? Do you use them at work? Have you used them in the past? Um, and so, and so, first, I would start with the line of questioning about the glasses and what are the glasses used for? Are they prescribed? Do you use them at work? Um, and let's get that established, build that foundation with the glasses first, even way before we start getting into the date of uh, showing up and taking the exam. And so while you're working your way to that particular date, then that's when you start um, asking questions about, okay, so here you are at this promotional exam. Um, go ahead and tell me uh, what happened on that day. And so, but you have to be very, very clear as to what it is that you're trying to accomplish and get out of this particular investigation. So you're going to have to let them know the nature of the investigation is fraudulent activity, misconduct, conduct unbecoming, that comes to mind too. Let's not forget about that. So
Hmm.
in the end, it's probably going to be like an unbecoming conduct type of allegation on top of the false statement. And again, that false statement can be during the official and compelled interview, or um, if for whatever reason you don't have enough evidence, substantial that is, to frame such an allegation, there you're just going to have to go with uh, used a particular apparatus to misrepresent him or herself during a promotional exam. And
Hmm.
so that's how you start working your way into this investigation, where you ask a lot about the glasses because the glasses is material, right? It's a material fact. Then you work your way into that day. When you start talking about that particular day, when you took the promotional exam, that's when you start getting into some really hard questions. And you got to ask those questions. Questions like, were your intentions to go in there and to use these particular glasses to record the exam? Now, if the answer is yes, okay, when you recorded that exam, what what did you do with that exam when you recorded? What was the purpose for you to record this exam? And then that's when you start cornering and asking those hard questions. Now, of course, that kind of gives away a little bit of culpability on your part, because the reasonable, prudent examinee or candidate would not walk in there with glasses to record an exam. What would be the purpose? Besides, you can say something like, "Oh, I just needed to have that just in case I didn't pass and I had some, recollection of the questions when I take this promotional exam the next time in case I didn't pass." However, there is some violations of rules and policies. My understanding could be that perhaps there is a uh, maybe the administrator reads off the rules and regulations as to why you take the exam, uh, or did he or she, this will be the accused employee, was asked about these particular glasses. And if you told them that these glasses were prescribed glasses, then you may have to open up the door and ask, okay, so were they prescribed glasses or not? Because if they're not, and you told them that you did, that can be a false statement in it itself. But the basis of the false statement, that's not going to hold too much weight, besides the fact, like, yeah, you know what, I just told them to prescribe. And again, I'm just speculating here because maybe the accused employee can say, yeah, they were prescribed glasses. Who knows? Right.
Hmm.
So once you get all that information is when now you start getting into the real tough questions. Uh, did you share this particular recording with anyone else? And if the answer is yes, then you got to write down and see who else actually was given this exam by the accused employee. And then you got to work your way to the other individuals, because now they become accused as well. So we're not looking at one accused employee, we're looking at possibly a couple. So there might be, oh, I don't know, maybe a team. There might be a team, meaning several IA investigators are going to be assigned to this matter. This could be somewhat of a task force, if you will. So
Hmm.
that's kind of like a little bit of the background, but we'll see, man. Just when you thought that you can just study like I did for the exam, and when I first heard about it, I was the same way. I was thinking, just no way. No way can someone be that clever, if you will, right, to get away with it and actually record it. Because what ends up happening is when your intentions are to record an exam, well, what would be the purpose? And that's one of the hard questions that you're going to have to ask.
Mm. So a couple of things before we close is one
Yes.
is that you and I, when something heavy hits the news cycle,
Yeah.
rumor mill starts, and people start
Okay.
dropping DMs and saying, "Hey, man, this is what I know. This is what I know. So what's going on around the department?" I got nothing. I got nothing. And another thing is, with that in mind, When you say the IA investigators need to go out and start doing, how many people are in an average like sergeant's test? Do they take them all and they one by one they start interviewing every single one of them?
Yeah, well, there is this. So rumor has it, and again, this is just the kind of stuff that you heard also, is that a particular portion of the sergeant scored very, very high, which was very unusual
Right.
as it relates to city personnel looking at all these results, going, wait a minute, hold on a second. There was only like 40 people who actually got to 90% or above, but for now we have over 120. And how could that be? All the answers are the same. So they're doing a full biopsy analysis of the exam, which I'm sure they did in efforts to get this party started, if you will.
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know, and so how do you do that? You have to be able to. Uh, what I would do is I get a whiteboard, like a war room, and start past a real white net, and then start uh, closing it in, and just focusing and narrow the scope to certain individuals that we department, right, potentially have some knowledge or some information that these particular individuals were the ones who received a copy of this recording. So that can take, yeah, man, that's a lot of work, man. This is not an easy case whatsoever. People keep thinking, oh my God, they cheated. We're going to get no, and a lot, normally in an internal affairs investigation with serious misconduct. Well, I would say probably with every IA, the accused is always interviewed last.
Hmm,
That's the practice for the most part.
interesting.
This one, as I'm thinking about it, the more we're talking about it, this might be the one where we might interview the accused employee, right? The culprit, the main player. We might want to do it right off the get-go, because that would eliminate a lot of resources, a lot of efforts, and a lot of time. Because if he or she can tell us, depending on, if they might just tell you, I don't know what you're talking about, go pound sand, and then you're left with nothing. Or depending on their, advice they get from their counsel, from their attorney, maybe he or she might end up telling us, yeah, you know what, I shared this with these other five candidates. So now,
Mm.
your investigation is now pretty narrow. But to your point, yeah, do you actually go to a matrix? You get a spreadsheet of from city personnel, and you're like, okay, how are we going to be able to determine whether or not there was some misrepresentation, some fraud, some deceit, uh, and that can be hard to do. But my thinking is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my thinking um, is that yeah, my thinking along those lines is that city personnel, and this is just all the rumors that I heard, is there is a fraction of the exam where an unusual amount of candidates scored very high,
Mhm.
which could be the other angle. Maybe you can go ask each person that perhaps you speculate to score very high and say, I would say the line of question would be, do you know so and so? Did you receive a copy of a recording from uh, candidate so and so, from this accused employee? And if the answer is no, then you move on. But if the answer is yes, then you open up the door, and now you got a lot. I mean, you're going to get a lot of information either way. But my thinking is, in terms of strategy of how to investigate this might be one of those where you actually go to the accused employee, the main uh, player in this, and ask away, man. You're gonna ask a lot of questions, and you got to start with the glasses, because my understanding, the
Yeah.
way it says, if we're looking at it, it says that they were equipped with these Mission Impossible style glasses, or camera equipped smart glasses. Um, and we'll see. Maybe, and I don't know this, but maybe in that particular room there might be some surveillance video. Could be.
Hmm.
We don't know that.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's really good evidence. Now, imagine if there was some surveillance video in that room. I don't think there was, because normally there'd be signs, right? Or they'll tell
Hmm.
you that you're being recorded, because you can't surreptitious record. I mean, what exam have you had a surreptitious recording?
Hmm. Yeah.
Promotional exam, that is. I don't think that is. But let's just say that that is the case. That's some really good evidence, because what you can do is you can grab that actual surveillance video that depicts, that person using their glasses, and man, you can just play that while you're doing the interview with the accused employee, and and just really ask some really hard questions like, what were you doing there? What's going on over here? You know, why would you wear these particular? So, bottom line is, you got to start asking about the glasses first, is
Hmm.
what you have to do.
So I lied when I said that was my last question, because now you got me thinking. I got three more fastballs to throw at you.
Yeah. No,
One.
you got me thinking too.
Number one is, I think they know who the alleged officer is. Number
Yes.
two, um, number two is the department. This has hit the news twice already. The
Hmm.
department had put a lid on it right quick, but they're not denying anything happened.
Correct.
And number three, this is a big question for me, is you're an officer who legitimately scored 80 something percent on the test. Do
Correct.
you do you challenge the test and they throw the whole thing out? Because what's the deal on all those three things, Marlon?
Yeah, no, yeah, you bring up a good point. My thinking is this, Ken, if you're able to get out of the accused employee some solid answers in terms of, hey, this is who I shared it with, then I think you're going to be okay.
Hmm.
That's my thinking, right? I mean, if he or she, the accused employee, says, "Yeah, I shared it with John, Rick, Mark, and Manny," then I think you're going to be okay. It just all depends. But yeah, yeah. Does it give thoughts of maybe retaking the exam? Could be, right? Or does it give the right for you to appeal the actual truthfulness of the actual exam? Could be. I don't know. That's a good question. And I'm thinking the same way too. But my thinking is that a lot of this is going to depend on that compelled interview with the accused employee that was wearing these MI5 glasses. That's
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
what it comes down to, man. And that's not an easy task.
I think in the interest of, they like to use the word transparency all the time, just for the well-being of the department and all the other officers who took the test and everybody else. I think they need to say something. So,
Yeah, you're right. In the beginning, it was speculations, and then they put a lid on it. And what ends up happening is more information surfaced, and that's when they had to do another advisory, if you will, from the
mhm.
department. Um, and what's happening behind the scenes is that the city of Los Angeles, man, that personnel department, man, they're really doing some good work. And what I mean by doing good work is that they're actually really digging into the data, you know, if you will. Um, but this is a tough one. I mean, there is
Mhm.
some defenses. I mean, just because I walk in with my MI5 glasses and you're alleging that I recorded, I suppose that the accusing police says, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't record anything.
Yeah, it's
You
interesting.
know, because you're being alleged that it was recorded and it was uh, shared with other colleagues. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Now, what you can do is you can go to the other colleagues, and if let's just say there's five, well, if one of the five says, "Here's an interesting point," if one of the five says, "Yeah, uh, this accused employee shared that video," and they fall on the sword, is what we say, right?
Mhm.
Well, don't be hiding the ball. And when you are gonna question the main accused employee and say, "Hey, listen, did you share this with anyone else?" Well, you know the answer to that, right? If they say, "Well, no, I don't know what you're talking about." Well, okay, see, this is a good point because this is what gives internal affairs, I wouldn't say completely, but just partially a bad rap. Me personally, as an eye investigator, don't hide the ball. You can ask that question. Hey, did you share? Have you shared this video with anybody? Well, let me ask you this: did you record this particular exam with those glasses? If the answer is no, well, then your follow-up should be, well, we have information from a witness, right? Which potentially can be an accused employee that you shared a recording with them. You can't just ask that question and move on. You got to give it
Mhm.
an opportunity to take a second bite of the apple. Because now with that follow-up question saying, look, Officer Johnson said that he received a recording from you. So I'm going to ask you again, did you record this exam with those MI5 type of glasses? My thinking is you better say yes, to avoid a false. That's what you get yourself a false, you
Mhm.
know. Um, Now, it can be Officer Johnson, it can be Officer Anderson, it can be Officer Hernandez. Man, if you have all three that tell you, yeah, you know what, we got this recording and it did help us get a lot of the answers correct on the exam. Okay, now think about that. You have three other candidates uh, that are taking the exam that has specifically told Internal Affairs that they have received a recording from accused employee. Now, when you go and ask them, the accused employee, the main player here, don't don't hide the ball and just ask and move on. You need to hide the ball and say, well, did you record it? They say yes. Okay. Did you give that recording to Officer Johnson? Yes. Did you give that recording to Officer Hernandez? Yes. Did you give that recording to Officer Anderson? Yes. You see what I'm saying? That's how you start avoiding additional charges. But
Mhm.
again, man, that's all going to depend on what the accused employee, the main player in all this, is going to be saying, and that's even if they can identify who this person is.
Yeah.
And you and I have heard rumors. I got calls too. I got calls too, and I was just like, "What? There's just no way. There's no way."
Yeah.
But this is it's a very serious case. This is a fireable offense for sure, 100%. This is a termination case, without a doubt. Even if, and like you said, there might be some fraud can be criminal in nature, so that maybe there is considerations to go to the district attorney's office and present it to JSID, right? And perhaps try to get a filing. I don't know if um, fraud or misrepresentation is an actual. I think it's a wobbler. It might be a misdemeanor. I don't know that, but
Hmm.
uh, the only my thinking is the big hurdle on that is just that the standard of proof is way, way, way higher. And so, again, that would all depend on the type of questioning you have. Me personally, I think I would just go admin and not
Hmm.
even do the crim, because the minute you start doing the criminal aspect of this particular incident, you only have the choice of coming up to the accused employee and asking for a voluntary statement. And if they tell you no and go pound sand, then you have to present to the district attorney's office whatever evidence you have that can prove that their intentions specifically were to go into this exam and cheat by using this particular apparatus.
And one last question before we go.
Yes.
When you take a test for the city, a promotional exam, do you have to sign an affidavit on the test itself saying you won't share the information or anything like that?
Something like that. Good point, man. I think there's a perjury. uh, type of phrase in the bottom. There is somewhat of a disclaimer.
I
And
believe that's
again,
a
it is,
felony.
I think so too. I think you're right. Besides the rules and regs, and besides worrying about a false statement or a misrep type of administrative allegation, you're right. You got to worry about a perjury. And the problem with perjury is that it's anytime that you have, in my experience, when it comes to falsifying documents, th- that's that's hard to defend, brother, because
Yeah.
that's your name and your signature. You know,
Mhm.
the only
Mhm.
problem with this perjury is that, again, it all depends on the answers to those tough questions. Were your intentions to go in there and to perjure yourself, or why did you share it? Why are you using these glasses? Why would you even have these glasses? Are these glasses prescribed? The answer could be yes. Did anybody tell you to take them off? No. Did everybody, were they do you have a prescription for these particular type of glasses? So there's just a host of questions, and you really fully got to prepare. But my thinking on this one in particular, I think I want to go, and the first interview for this particular matter is going to be the accused employee, the main employee.
Hmm. Interesting. Well,
Does that
my
make
brother,
sense?
yeah, big time. This is stuff that goes through my mind. I gotta talk to Marlon about this because this is above my pay grade. I don't know what the heck this is, how they even approach this type of thing. Because
Yeah,
to me,
man.
this is serious.
Yeah, you got to start with the glasses first, man. I really honestly feel that. The glasses plays a big role. Depending on how you answer with the glasses, that's going to kind of determine your line of questioning in this compelled interview. Because if you
Yeah.
tell, you say, the glasses, I don't know what you're talking about. And then if that's the case, then you got to go on the other side and start digging, man. Because I think city of personnel really uh, went out of the way to provide some really, really good evidence to, again, to possibly, right? Or have a probability that this particular individual actually used this particular apparatus or object, I should say, right?
Mm-hmm.
To with the intentions to record it and share it and cheat, and misrepresent
Gee.
him or herself. That's a tough burden, man. That's
Yeah.
You're right, man. This is serious stuff, man. It's something that you don't take lightly.
No, integrity, honesty, all that type of stuff. That's
Yep.
pounded into our heads from the day we stand on the black line at the academy. Um,
Yep.
I always tell people you can be forgiven. LAPD will forgive you for a multitude of sins, but don't get caught lying or cheating, or I mean stealing.
Yeah, and 100%. You know what? And this is just me, the way I practice. But even if you give someone one bite of the apple, two bites of the apple, to be truthful, honest, trustworthy, and forthcoming and forthright, which is the oath, right? That's what we sign up for. You know what? Don't, don't burn them. That's just me.
Yeah, yeah.
Some
And
people feel different. So
so before we go, how can the people who
yeah,
are watching us, how can they find you?
let's go, man. Come to my channel on YouTube.
Come to my channel.
We can't get any better than that, man. Internal Affairs, a police podcast, of course, on IG. You can hit me up. I think it's IA_capers_podcast. And you can always go to LinkedIn, man. Marlon, Marlon, last name Marrache, Marrache, and the IA guy. That's what I'm here
There
for,
you
man.
go. The internal affairs I always get confused about this on the YouTube, the internal affairs podcast,
A police
internal
podcast. Yeah.
a police podcast, Instagram,
It's going to
is
be,
that
uh, yeah, IA_capers_podcast.
okay? I follow Marlon on Instagram, man. Every few days there's either a video popping up or a story popping up, and you got to follow him on Instagram. Go to his channel on YouTube and follow him for some great interviews, man. Go behind the curtain with
Yeah. We
Marlon,
just,
man.
Th- Thanks, brother. I just had Jaretta Sandoz, who
Oh,
is one of Jaretta just came through the studio tonight.
awesome.
So that's going to be a
Awesome.
great episode. And guess what? I mean, I got the legend, the pioneer of internal affairs, Mark Perez. You remember Deputy
Oh,
Chief
yeah.
Mark Perez?
Yeah.
He will be in the studio next Thursday. And boy, are we going to have a great conversation about IA. So
I was
look
in the
forward to that one.
studio. People should go because I was in the studio too, man. Go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
When you come down,
thank
I got to get you on because I know you got stories, bro.
oh, I got stories. Well, thanks a lot, brother. I knew when the story popped up, I says the only guy that I trust with the answers is going to be Marlon, the IA guy, Marrache. So anyways, thank you everybody, and we will talk to you soon.